Good evening. It is another lovely day in the UK. The weather is super fantastic, scorching, and majority of the people will say this is the kind of weather we love to have. Even though they all serve purposes, we have 5 different weathers, and when it comes to winter, some people will love it. Some people will say, well, that's it. I've been around for so many years, so I do love. For the first time about 48 years ago, I was in Germany. It was extremely cold. In fact, I discovered that the coat I thought is best coat when the one I wore to Germany, just like, something you put on the line and it dried up and it was like become smaller because of the cold. Having said that, this is another edition of One-on-One with OtunbaHOO, a program where I have heart-to-heart discussion with my guest, where we not only rub in mind, we share views. We talk about those things that are very, very important to humanity, things that are very, very close to our hearts. Things we can say, well, this is deep than deeper, because we will be exploring all the spiritualities of everything you can think of. I have a gentleman. He was on my program about a year ago when I started with Heritage, and I was able to take him through a couple of things. In between, I find out more about him, because here I'm talking of someone who is also an author, and he's also a broadcaster. He does many NGO things, but most importantly is an advocacy of humanity. He 99%, and I choose my figure. 99% of his advocacy is about humanity, what that he believes. If we have done the right thing, put the right mindset, put the right thing in the right place, probably we'll be talking something different. But I can assure you, because we'll be talking to him in a minute, judging from about 7.8 million of inhabitants of this planet, I'm sure I'm not going to make it a wrong suggestion that almost 3/4 of this population are living poor. So without further ado, let me introduce to you this gentleman, Prince Eze Ihenacho. Welcome back again. It's another time this is the second time we crossed lines. So how have you been doing? Did you like the weather?
Thank you so much. I've enjoyed the weather so much.
I can see that with
you can see I had a long wear, but I thought, no, it's going to be so hot in here.
So
I just had to change into a t-shirt.
Wow.
Just to feel a bit of balance, because otherwise I don't want to be so hot. You wouldn't like me hot.
No, not at all.
I think I'm hot enough in terms of what I say.
So do a little bit of introduction, add to what I just said to our viewers.
I think
who is Prince Eze Ihenacho?
Yeah, I think you've captured it all. I am an approved mental health professional. I'm a broadcaster. I do write books, but I think above all, I like to be seen and known as an advocate for humanity, and I have a reason for that, because humanity captures everything. In fact, everything is locked into humanity. But I think we need to develop the sense of humility before we can capture the humanity aspects of life. And it's a work in progress, because I'm still working on it. What I find is that once we capture our obvious limitations, then we will capture humility. That will take us into spiritualism, and then you see humanity. Because without latching onto our obvious limitations, we will keep deluding ourselves, thinking what we are not, doing things we're not supposed to be doing, thinking the wrong thoughts and then acting the wrong way. I give you an example of what I mean. You will agree with me that you are a lawyer by profession. I know you studied law. But if I were to ask you, Otunba, do you know everything about law?
The answer
The answer will be
affirmative
no. That tells you there is limitation, even in your chosen profession.
Yes, yes.
But somebody looking at you from the outside could assume that you knew everything in law. You get what I mean? I know this because of the job I do. People see me as very good in my job, but I know that I don't know everything in my job. I still go on training. I still go on refresher training. I still consult with my colleagues, with my peers to check things out. I still look at my code of practice to see. So that told me that I don't know everything.
Right.
Okay, but somebody could assume that. Now, the fact that I don't know everything about my chosen profession automatically tells me that I know very little about you and what you do.
Right.
That is, I hope you let me land, because this is very critical.
Yes. Okay.
I hope you don't mind. I know you have so many things to fire on there. So, but this is so critical, because people need to understand why we have to latch onto our obvious limitations in order to grasp humility. So now, if I don't know everything in my own chosen career, now how much do I know of somebody else? Let alone know about a community, another community, another country, another continent, the world. You find that most of the things we feel we know are based on imagination, assumption, and illusions. Now, I'm asking humanity to please pinch yourselves and begin to, yes, celebrate your strengths, but please be aware of your obvious limitations so you don't get deluded and make mistakes.
Right.
The way we are doing right now. I go back to you.
Thank you. That's, I mean, it's a long additional introduction to my intro, but here we are. I know exactly what I'm going into, what I invited this gentleman again, because like I said, he's an advocate of anything and everything to do with humanity. Well, I still want to warm him up before we go into details of discussion tonight. Prince, today, is it yesterday that Nigeria, got involved with Croatia in the World Cup thing, and we lost 2-0. Now, one of the clips in some of the groups where I regularly contribute, one of them saying, "Oh, the national coach was speaking in tongues," and yeah, well, for him, he's speaking in tongues because truly the man, when he was asked a question about what happened, he started speaking in German.
Oh my God!
And I reply again, saying to the group that he wasn't speaking in tongues; he was speaking in German, which for me, with all respect and humility, and mostly when I remember my first place of call when I left Nigeria in 1970 was in Germany. So I understand, read, and speak German. So I said to them, I said, well, look, he was speaking in German. But the question here is this. Do you think having an outsider, another national, to be our national coach, putting in consideration the excellence, the performance, which you find Nigerian players all over the world that we've done very well. Even many Nigerians are like key players in one of the most expensive teams in the world. And also we do have those who are also in the coaching grade, and we did not choose them. What do you think? Do you think could that have made any difference, or do you think national thing should be managed by the national of countries like Germany will never hire a Yugoslavian for national? I'm talking of national team,
yes,
not of the league team. Yes,
that is your that's your main identity. Now, the answer to that is quite simply, idealistically, we need it's all nations should be managed by their nationals. That is the ideal, and that is where we ought to be at this stage. I'm quite sure you look back and see when Stephen Keshi was managing the national side.
That's
and
late, yeah.
The late Stephen Keshi and the much he did for the national team. And it's a shame that we don't value our own. That is the biggest shame. And I'm quite sure as we speak about other things, we'll touch base on these things. The lack of love for our own is what is killing us.
Lack of love
for our own is killing us point blank. Now, you made reference of people thinking that the national coach, which is a foreigner, was speaking in tongues.
Because he
Now,
was speaking German.
yeah, because he was speaking German. That tells you all you needed to know about that team. Because, I mean, if it is sounding like speaking in tongues to somebody, that means he's not communicating well with the players. How would a player then know what they ought to do and what they ought not to do? Yes, I also can look at the general lackluster behavior of players on the day, but couldn't we see how the actual coaching may have played a part in that performance, and also the overall system that employed this particular coach, because it's still based on love. Because if the system that employed this man loved their country and wanted the best for their country, they'll be looking for the best, and that best could be found in-house, not outside. You know, so yes, we see it as it is at the moment, but I think we need to learn a huge lesson here.
Yes.
We need to learn to employ our own
for certain area of
expertise, especially something like a national side. But mind you, I don't see Nigeria as a nation. I hope you know that. I hope you know that, and it's important.
That might be another discussion for another day.
But it's important you know that. So perhaps when we become what I believe we should be, and I hope we can start that process in 2019.
Yes.
Then we can.
Again, like I said, that's kind of a warm up.
Yes.
I want you to tell our viewers.
Yes.
Because like I said, ever since we know each other far back, even many years before you came on my program, from Ben TV many years back.
That's right.
Now, again, like I said in my intro, you dedicate yourself too much to advocacy for humanity. What exactly are you looking for? What exactly is the kind of education do you want to impact on people? Why you are so passionate about advocacy for humanity? What do you mean?
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it is called a first principle thing. It's a first principle in engineering. When something goes wrong, you've got to go back to the first principle. Otherwise, you keep messing up. Now, once I realized that humanity is actually like the human body, you might decide to see it as a car engine. You might decide to see humanity as a tree. But what it is one central thing that has different parts. And all these parts are supposed to be contributing to the overall equation. All of them. Now look at humanity as your body. Each individual, community, nation, and continents make up this body, and each is unique. That's why you can't, even twins, they are different, even twins. Now, once I discovered this, I knew we missed something, because what I found was that everybody was fighting, the hand was fighting for the hand. Okay? You can call that hand women. The leg was fighting for the leg. You can call that leg men. The head was fighting for the head, everything for the head. You can call that head Europe. The leg wants it all for the leg. You can call that leg Africa. Now, every part is fighting for their own. In fact, the hand wants to eat up the leg because, as far as it's concerned, it owns the leg. They are beginning to own themselves. One wants to own the other. The other person, the leg wants to replicate itself somewhere else. Now, once I discovered it, I knew we missed the road.
Wow.
Because that came from the school of thought that human beings belong to the animal kingdom, which I will dispute and nobody can prove me wrong. I can assure you that, and I'm not being big-headed about it. Now, as soon as I discovered that, I knew that, no, we ought to be fighting for the whole body. It's an engine. We're all mechanics. All we need to do is to get this engine functional. It's not about the part, okay? It's not the radiator that wants to become everything else. It's not the plug that wants to become everything else. The radiator has a purpose there. The plug has its own purpose.
All the components, yeah.
That's right. So we became deluded in the way we were thinking. Now, as soon as I got to know that, and this is the base, that we must capture. Otherwise, we'll keep being stupid, to put mildly. And you know what? Otunba, you will agree with me. When you look at the whole project, you will just see that the whole essence of our existence actually depends on what the other person is doing, not just what we are doing.
We're interconnected,
Absolutely.
intertwined.
That's right. Now, in this equation, you see humanity as a body, yes? You now see the head now trying to load it over the leg. Okay? Now, how do you think that body will function? It will not function. Okay, it won't function. Because for the body to be efficient, each part of the body must be strong, must be independent, must yield its uniqueness and contribute its attribute to
So
the
none of them
overall
can work
equation.
in isolation.
Absolutely. None of them can work in isolation. None can become the other. None can force the other to become like it. Because once the leg begins to act like the hand, the whole system would not function appropriately. It might still limp on, like the world is limping on. But we have followed the wrong process because we thought we were animals. We thought we were animals because in the animal kingdom, it's all about survival of the fittest.
Yes.
Some animals depend on eating and killing others for their survival. We are human beings. We are the only agents given the power of creativity, the power of production, and the power to make things happen, change things. Okay, that's why we are the ones that name names, rename names, name what we call the animals. They answer. They can't call us. They can't give us names. There's power in being human, and that's why I say that the only thing that can make us grandiose is the fact that we are human.
Right. Prince.
Yes.
Listening to this, your argument why humanity must conform, must work, must make sure all the components of existence put together must work together, because in order to avoid dysfunctionality, you said none of them can work in isolation. I also agree with you. But then we have a situation where today, I'm not really sure about 7 point something billion human beings all over the world.
Yes.
You and I will know that, just to be, very cautious, but 3/4 of the world do not seems to understand your teachings, your argument, because 3/4 of the world population are still living in permanent poverty. And guess what? And I want to agree with you, because this large number of human beings are being misguided, being mistreated by their own people. Because if you see what is going on in some of these poor nations of this world, there are still government there, there are still leaders in those countries, but they choose not to do what they have to do. They were only fighting, to borrow part of your illustration, they're only fighting for legs, just fighting for own themselves and their family. What do you think is responsible for that? Why are 3/4 of this world population are not thinking the way you are thinking?
Because of that wrong foundation we set at the initial stage, because we thought we are animals. Okay, now because remember, once your thought is wrong, your actions will follow it to be wrong. Now we thought we are animals. That's why we introduced fear in our concepts, in our ideologies, and in our theories. There was big fear. The self became more important than the other, without realizing that without the other there is no self. Now what then happened was that, you see, even the academic system, okay, everything was now sort of programmed to produce malfunction, okay, because people were selfish, greedy, and then fear run the whole show. Now let me first of all remind you that we're talking about 7 point something billion people on Earth.
Yeah.
Now I need you to know that the world is too big, you can't even imagine it. The world can take triple the amount of people that are living on it right now.
Yes.
We are judging the world based on what our eyes can see. The world also is highly resourced, in fact over-resourced. What you're seeing here is what we call false scarcity, as well as reduction of the world, making it look small when it is big, because of the sort of concepts, ideologies, and theories that we have introduced based on animal kingdom principles. That now reduced the ingenuity of you and I. That now suppressed our ingenuity and our creativity, imposing force scarcity. Now, let me tell you something, and I need you to capture this, my dear good friend and brother, because that is where our salvation lies. If I told you that most of the things sold to you and I were all false, you might think it's a joke. I'll give you just one illustration. You know, I held people like Nnamdi Azikiwe, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, academic doctor, I think, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, Tafawa Balewa. I held them in high esteem. And I still want to hold them there because, but I have a but. Because I want you to consider this word, simple word, one word, discovery.
Discovery.
Discovery. This will tell you all the things I'm struggling to illustrate to you. Discovery. Discovery, if you don't even need to consult the dictionary to know that to discover something is to unearth something. You can't discover something that is visible to everyone. You cannot. It's not a discovery.
It's not possible.
Yeah, because everybody can see it. For you to discover something, for example, you can't discover a leaf because everybody can see a leaf, but you can discover the contents of those leaves because you've done an experiment, you know what is in it. Now,
I have to quickly stop you there. We need to go on a short break. When we come back,
Please,
it's a very
of
course, you will continue. I guarantee you. It's a very intensive discussion, and I'm sure lots and lots of our people are watching the way you are elucidating the concept
I'm
of.
too passionate about this, and I hope people
humanity.
can excuse me.
Right, viewers, do not go away. We'll be back.
Heritage Television. Promoting African culture and heritage at its best. From talk shows that concern you to both local and international news that relates to you. From grassroots football to African children's programs. Heritage Television. We cover your social and special events like weddings, birthdays, church anniversaries, and so on, and broadcast them live on our apps and online. Heritage Television, broadcasting everything about culture and heritage. Heritage Television. We've got it covered. Do download our apps on both Android, iOS, and Windows mobile platform. Heritage Television, your very own TV station.
Thank you very much, and welcome back to One-on-One with OtunbaHOO. My guest tonight is someone who has done a lot for humanity, who still believes that a lot can still be done. His name is Prince Eze Ihenacho, and this is a program, like I always say, people, you're watching us live, please, because the media is like massive. So the only way to have a little fraction of it is when you like this program, share it to friends and family on Facebook, Periscope, YouTube, WhatsApp, Twitter, Instagram. You know, get other people to see what we are saying. Especially tonight when we are discussing about you and I, what are probable causes of the problems the world is facing. So please share with your friends and family. Please, I do know that 1 hour of this program might not be enough to discuss humanity problem and so on and so forth. Judging from I tried to read some of your books, it's too extensively discussed there. Now, still within the humanity parameters, my take on this is I will agree with you with most of your arguments that if only we are doing what we're supposed to do as a human being, that we appreciate another human being. Take a good example in some of these countries in Africa, in Kenya, in South Africa, in Nigeria, in Sierra Leone, where for some silly reasons people have been neglected, they are not being given what is due to them. Yeah, just briefly connect. What should they have? What do you think you and I should be doing to get it? Because the people that we are talking about, they are from us. The former President Obasanjo, former President Awolowo, former President this and that, they are all from us. You know, so briefly, what do you think you and I should be doing to get people connected?
Right. I'm going to go there, but you know, I was coming to finish off with something.
Yes, please.
About discovery.
Yes.
You remember?
Discovery. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And then I'll go to your question. Now, you see, that word discovery, think about it. There is a river called Niger River. Yeah? Our great grandparents used this river, washed, drank from it, saw it. Okay? But then it took a young man all the way from Scotland to arrive in this geographical location to claim that they discovered
Mr. Lugard, yeah.
it. It was Mungo Park.
Oh, Mango Park, sorry. Yeah.
Mungo Park claimed it, and we agreed. Now, I don't mind whilst we were in that primitive age, because this thing called primitive isn't just Africa that were primitive. Those that came with the colonization agenda were also primitive and remain primitive today. We are all very primitive people. Even up to now, you'll be surprised. Both the inferior and the superior are still very primitive because we are locked down by delusions. Now, we bought the ideology that we agreed that Mungo Park, in fact, some of our people failed exams on that particular question. Who discovered it? If you got it wrong and you didn't say Mungo Park, you failed. If you're requiring 1 point, you failed. And this is the academic system. Now, I expected those who took independence to say, now we are independent, and I'm schooled enough to understand what discovery means. Okay, so, and I don't want my children to be damaged. I don't want them to carry on with this delusion that somebody had to come all the way from Scotland to discover a river that had been there even before his own ancestors were born. So this, we're not going to make this part of our educational system. We can't have it in the curriculum. You get what I mean? We could have changed so many things just like that. But I want to pick that up so you know the level of deceit, the level of falsehood we all have subscribed to and we are working with today. And that is part of the reason why I say, and I'll keep saying, up until today, that there is no civilization or righteousness taking place anywhere in the world. And we need to wake up to this reality so that the question you've just asked me now can be answered. Because once we understand that there is no civilization or righteousness happening anywhere, that the days for discovery are here, just now, that the time to begin to revamp and actually activate humanity is now, we would then stop looking for manna dropping from heaven. We'll understand that we are creatives and we can now work together, because what it requires for the world to trigger and do the right thing is for each individual, each community, each country, each continent to begin to realize their uniqueness, to harness and maximize their uniqueness. Then you start seeing the beauty of humanity. You start seeing how big this world is. You start seeing and understanding how resourceful the world is. Because like I said the last time I came here, the real and true resources of our world is nothing else other than human beings. Nothing else is resources other than human beings. And we need to grasp this reality very quickly and stop misbehaving. And you know, I use words, and I like to use words appropriately. People who actually have held humanity in captive want you to pretend they are good people, or want you to use politically correct words so that you can't understand the level of damage they are doing to you and me. But we must not succumb to that. Now I say evil, and I use evil a great deal. Evil is anything that is tampering with humanity.
Right.
You get me? Anything,
I'm with you.
anything that is geared towards destruction of another individual, another community, another country, that is evil. And we shouldn't be scared of using that. We cannot be in this mindset where we try to minimize evil in order to eat it. We must call a spade a spade.
Right. Yeah, fantastic. Again, let's start going down to another area of humanity. For me, I find it difficult to believe that 57 years on of Nigeria independence, in a couple of months now we're going to be 58.
I know where you're coming.
And for me, that we are still at a stage where we are still crawling. And to borrow your phrase of evil, we are still like the leaders, the people that's supposed to know better, that's supposed to show the way, that's supposed to insist. Like we have in Nigeria, who was not president but in his region insisted that education is key. All children must go to school because he was convinced that the bedrock of any nation is education. And he also tried as much as possible to make sure that basic things were provided, even up to that, make sure that radio diffusion was installed in all homes, that people can listen, hear, follow the policy, the program of the government then. Now, many years thereafter, as we speak, lots of our people are still in permanent penury, poverty. They virtually they are denied of basic things of life. So what I'm saying is, how do we deal with this? Because yes, I agree with if you say evil, because for me it cannot be anything more than some people have been machination or they just now they're taking advantage of their own people, not doing what they have to do, not making sure that people are informed when they go to rally, instead of speaking the local language that people who form the majority of the events understand what they are saying. They start speaking big English and all that kind of thing. So yes, how do we get these people to do what they have to do?
Okay.
It's one of the biggest problems in my career because it keeps coming up and up and up. Yeah. How do we get
in medicine? You can't cure any illness you haven't properly diagnosed. So
because of the problem must be.
Let's deal with the diagnosis here. And this is why I talk about the evil blueprint. Okay. Don't forget that this place called Nigeria is just a formulation. It was just formulated, okay? Not necessarily by the people that lived in it, okay? It's important to know that it was formulated. Yes, it was formulated to produce malfunction, and it's that malfunction that you are seeing. Forces within and outside connived to do this, okay? And it's done on the premise of delusion, okay? That delusion is this. I want you to imagine a world we are all renting as tenants. Imagine renting, and this is actual, this is fact. You're renting a home with many other people. Each of you, you're all in your various rooms. Suddenly, one or two of you woke up and assumed that they own it. What do you think will start happening? Because they are delusional, and if they force you to agree, that means they're going to be collecting rent from you. And they might start serving you with eviction notice without knowing that they themselves are now owing the landlord, and you are owing the landlord. They will be evicted as much as you will be evicted too. But because delusion had gripped the two sides, you are deluded to now believe, because they've convinced you that they are now your landlords. This is exactly what is happening in our world, where we all came into the same process. None of us knew the womb that gave birth to us before we arrived. None of us knew the country that we were going to come out from. None of us. And it doesn't matter I don't care which end of the spectrum you are. But suddenly, some people began to become delusional and began to form what we call cabals today. Began to form what we call cronies. Began to start working to repress and turn the rest into tenants and believe that they are the landlords, even though we are all renting. Okay? Now, this is where the problem began. The lack of love for the other crept in. What you now find is the repression and the suppression of human ingenuity began. Everything you see that is going on right now began to be introduced. Now, if I were to tell you now that even the military in Nigeria, and as well as many other African countries, are actually foreign armies, you think it's a joke. Because they are mentally conditioned not to protect their own. I'm being very frank to you. Okay? They are used to disrupt. They are used to punish, to control, to conquer, to defeat, to ruin humanity. But the problem is that those that are doing this do not know that they are destroying themselves in the process. Can you see the level of delusion? So now, the problem you are identifying and counting right now stems from this evil blueprint that the hand wants to eat the leg, thinking that it owns the leg, forgetting that the leg is there to serve not only the hand, but the whole body. So now, because of that, I've also told you, I don't know if I've told you, that you don't even own yourself. You know that? Because if you owned yourself, you won't be sick, you won't grow old, you will never retire, and you wouldn't die. Now, if you don't own yourself, don't you think you'll be delusional to think you own your wife, you own your children, you own another country, you own another community? This is what is happening because people believed they own the rest. They now suppress over 6 billion people. The few now suppress them. And these people that are suppressing these others are now forget that they are going to die. And they are destroying the world.
Right.
Okay, so that's now for in terms of the question you asked, what we need to do to change this is very simple. It begins by, first of all, understanding that you are a human being with your own identity. That your identity does not belong to anyone else. You must claim the fact that you must remember that each of us came here without this floor, without this ground that we're standing on. None of us owns it. No country, no human being owns it. And we all arrived as traders. I need you to see yourself as a trader.
Yes.
Each of us.
Yes.
With your own peculiar goods and products to deliver. Now, the sin you commit is not to identify that unique product that you're here to unleash. Because that product is not only for you, it is for me, it is for the other, and it's for humanity. Okay? When you understand that, you're not going to allow people to just get away with it. Okay? You get people to account. You're not going to be corrupt when you understand this, because whatever you do to repress the other means that you are also stopping them from actually harnessing their own goods and products, which is unique. And you yourself need it. All of us I need your product because there is something unique in it to serve me. So if I destroy you, I have destroyed myself because there is something.
I do agree with that. Now we're not going to finish this discussion. Like I said, I know how
I get very passionate with this.
I know how extensive you've written, you've campaigned, you've done a lot of broadcasting on for humanity. But we're going to go on another short break. Then when we come back again, we will start zooming to the 2019 election, because part of your advocacy may be useful to our viewers all over the country. Do not go away. We'll be right back.
Heritage Television. Promoting African culture and heritage at its best. From talk shows that concern you to both local and international news that relates to you. From grassroots football to African children's programs. Heritage Television. We cover your social and special events like weddings, birthdays, church anniversaries, and so on, and broadcast them live on our apps and online. Heritage Television, broadcasting everything about culture and heritage. Heritage Television. We've got it covered. Do download our apps on both Android, iOS, and Windows mobile platform. Heritage Television, your very own TV station.
Welcome back, and probably this is going to be the last segment of this program. I've been rubbing minds. I've been talking more spirituality or spiritually with a well-known advocate for humanity, somebody who has done so much about research, and still keeping doing more and more to tell the world what humanity are lacking, what is supposed to be doing, and so on and so forth. The program a one-on-one with OtunbaHOO, like we said, is your program. Even though someone is sitting down here and I have a guest sitting down in front of me, we want you to share this program. Talk about it to friends and family, especially for those of you who believe that this is a program that is so, designed to educate humanity. You can share it on Facebook, Periscope, Twitter, Instagram, yeah, website, and then also Heritage apps is up and running. So you can Google it, you can go into our website, you can try many just to make sure that you connected so you can see. And also the beauty of this program on Heritage TV is an online program. You can always come back to it again and again. So if you are busy now, you just save the link. You can watch it as many times as you want.
Absolutely.
Prince, because of time, I have a couple of, one or two or three more questions, and I want us to, maximize our time.
Okay.
2019 is coming. Some people will even say it's not far, it's not going to be too, because we're looking at the first election coming up February 2019, which is going to be presidential. Here we have a large number of aspirants who want to be president of Nigeria. But one thing is also clear to me and to many other observers, that the election of 2014 and the 2019, 4 years on, is going to be a kind of a watershed. It's going to be a time when when people take decisions that are quite completely different from what happened in 2014. What do you think? Do you think people should be taught as how to make a decision? What I mean by that, we are not, in all the programs I do, whether here or any other television station, I refuse to be personal. I refuse to be in support of anybody. What concerns me is that the people who are the constituents, who are my constituents, get the right thing. They are served. They have to see that whoever is elected must see himself or herself as their servant. Sure. And people should not jump up and hit the roof because a road is mended. New chairs are put in the classrooms. They are fed 2 or 3 times a day. You see, because all these things we're talking about is their right. It is their right.
Basic right.
When you look at what is going on here, that a child born, well, the nursery might be debatable whether you want to put in a private or public or whatever. Thereafter, primary 6 to secondary school is a must. Government pay for it. They even fund these young people using the public transport, and still some allowances are given to their parents. So what exactly is different from our own? So I wanted to, again, just 1 or 2 minutes, say what should our people be looking at when they want to take their PVC 2019 for all the elections. What should they be looking at?
I want my people, I call everyone, but whoever has a PVC, and then anybody that hasn't got it should go and have it now, should be looking out for somebody who hopefully is a human being, because I know that we are propelled by so many things. A human being and a leader is actually more than a parent, because sometimes you don't choose to be a parent and you become one. So you are not too liable. Because a young man that has some psychological issues could impregnate a woman and become a parent. Okay? But to be a leader, you have subscribed to becoming the parent who chose to be that parent, because nobody forces anyone to become a leader. It is not compulsory. You don't have to. Now, all I say is that for you to be a leader, you've got to understand what leadership means. So I'm asking the people to look out for those who have got the makeup of a leader. A leader means somebody who eats from the provision they make, because you're not going to give the people the food and you run away, when you put food down and you run away to feed somewhere else, it means that you're serving the people with poison. Now, it means you are not a leader who even loves themselves. You don't love yourself. Okay, because if you love yourself, you will have every provision that you need in-house. You don't have to be going out to get them. I'll give you a simple example, healthcare. Okay, any leader that loves themselves would understand that illnesses do not give you warning. Some illnesses will kill you within seconds, within minutes. So any leader that loves themselves, let alone love the people that put them there, would want the best healthcare in-house. It's a sign of psychological deformity, a sign of a mental illness when you see a leader who subscribes for treatment abroad, because it tells you that they are self-neglecting. They don't actually understand that some illnesses will kill them right there. But if they had the facility in-house, they might be saved. Now, such a leader, such person should not be a leader, should not come close to being a leader, because you don't even understand your own health needs, let alone others. Can you begin to understand where I'm coming from? So we need people that actually love themselves and love others, love the place they call their own. We want leaders that can help to educate other leaders. If you are a learner about leadership, please don't go, because you are coming to help educate not only your people but other leaders. And it doesn't matter who. Every leader should have something to offer to the other leaders. Now, if you're coming into leadership and you're seeing it as an opportunity to meet with other leaders, then you are in the wrong job. You're a goat looking to sit on a seat reserved for the dogs. So we're asking the people now to wake up. First of all, anybody that is giving you money to vote for them, you know they are a thief. Okay, you can make up your mind, you can take the money, but you know you will never to vote the person, because nobody pays to serve. Service, why do I say I don't want to lead anybody? Because I know what service entails. In fact, good leaders are often reluctant. This is what people don't know. Genuine leaders are often very reluctant. So I'm asking the people to now unlock their brains. First of all, to know and keep asking those that are offering to serve, are you going to be subscribing to the provisions? Please, if you're coming to give excuses, or like, oh, well, these are the provisions of the past government, if it's going to be your, don't come, because there are people willing to go in within 100 days, change things. Okay? If at the end of the day nobody wants to do it, I will offer. I don't want to lead anybody, I've said it before. But if nobody is prepared to go in and start making changes immediately and start going to hospital in-house, I would do it. You see, I've told you before, I've checked my teeth right now. I even to eat meat now give me trouble.
Wow.
So when you go, when you are over 50 and you're still power hungry and you're mad with it, then I'm sorry for you, because by right, once you cross 50, you should understand there is something called exit for every human being that is renting this world.
Right.
Okay? You should be making provisions for those that are coming in and looking to make the world a better and safer place for them. If you're still in that mode, you're 50 and over, you're in the mode of me, then you are psychologically deformed. Right. You're sick.
Okay. Right.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Prince. In part of your presentation, especially the last part, you alluded to if push come to shove, some people are approached and they asked to sell their votes, which you and I will not advocate, because it doesn't make sense. It's also part of the pain, it's part of the problem, why when people sell votes stupidly. And I've come to do a kind of a calculation. If for any reason, any of my people back home say, oh, they are forcing us, I say nobody can force you, but you can force them to do what you want. And I've come up with a formula and say, well, if anybody is asking you to vote, just okay, sit down, Mr. This political party or Mr. This candidate. Now, what it is minimum wage is 18,000. So just make sure you put 18,000 in 48 months. It comes to about 1,864,000.
That's right.
So because based it's not a defeatist thing, but it's just like for this person to realize that 864,000, put it in my account, I should be able to manage it. For me alone, now I have 4 children, so it has to be times 4. I'm sure by the time an average Nigerian comes up with this kind of calculation, which they are really entitled to. I have to re-emphasize, I am not saying take money for votes. Oh, no. But if they say they want to pay, then fair enough. My wife, my 4 children, myself, that will be 864,000. If you multiply 18,000 by 48 months, it comes to 864. You know, so well, I mean, we don't want. I just try to double check and cover that area with you. Now, gradually, like I said, because of time, producer start telling me time is running. Finally, I have to deal with this problem of something that is so endemic in the society. It is like creating a lot of empathy, you know, and instead of empathy, now also leading us to a lot of sympathy. Oh, sorry, had it not been. That disease is a national disease. Yes, we might be able to look at 1, 2, 3 out of 180 something million or more than that, that will say, look, I can go on the tradition oath and say I have not stolen anybody's money, and they might be right. But here we are, majority of our politicians, both new and recycled ones, they cannot swear on God of Thunder that they have not been stealing money, they've not been raping, taking their people to laundry, you know, cheating them. So I'm talking of corruption here. Just and because I'm another 2 minutes quickly. What can we do to deal with corruption?
Do you know that the type of corruption you're seeing in places like Nigeria is actually an illness? You know, it is actually...
It's a form of illness?
Yeah. It's, because, you know, I do know for sure that whenever people are doing things that they have no proper insight into, that is a symptom of mental disorder, okay? Now, what are you going to do with £3 billion? $3 billion? What are you going to deal with? What are you going to do with it? Now, I need you to know that we're dealing with an epidemic, okay? And we need to sanitize very quickly. And how do we do that? If we can get, it's got to be a teamwork. Do you know, I've sat back and I've kept saying, I don't want anything, I don't want any position. But you know, what I will crave for, and I will ask the whole, and I give this offer to the whole world. Because I know, even in this country, they are still, they don't know what they're doing. You think they know what they're doing? There is no civilization happening here. All you see is craft. People are just crafty, just playing games with human lives. Okay? Nowhere is safe, I must tell you. So, and I'm happy to offer myself, because the type of things I have understood and I have seen, people want to wait for it to be taught at Oxford University. They don't have it to teach you. I'm sorry. We're all given special talents in this world. I told you that we're here as traders, each with unique talent. So you don't expect what I'm telling you now to be taught by Harvard University. They don't have it. They don't have it to tell you. We need to cultivate the mindset. It's about mindset. It's about telling, you know, when you take something from a man, show them so they don't think you've insulted them. Show them why you did that. Okay? So it's about the mindset. I am happy to offer it free. Go to all the primary schools that I can afford to go. Just give me the enabling facility. I don't need to be paid, but cover my expenses. All the primary schools I can visit, all the secondary schools I can visit, universities, I am happy to go. So that, because it's about mindset. Because when you understand who you are, when you understand who you are, yes, you're not going to be grabbing. When you understand our journey here,
especially, exactly.
You won't be doing. You won't be doing. You will. In fact, you don't want to be showing up. What are you showing up for? No, who are you showing up for?
When we are only here temporarily.
Yeah, when you're here temporarily, you will make the best use of your life here, high quality life, but with appropriateness around it. You
Right.
get what I mean? So it's all about mindset.
Yes, mindset,
Yes,
mindset.
so I'm happy.
Yes.
I'm happy to do that work.
Yes.
And you know, because it's a work that is divine, okay, I don't want to charge for it. But I just want to be sure that, you know, my expenses are covered. I can go as many places as possible.
Yes.
And I'm happy for anybody to, and I don't want to offer it to any particular candidate. In fact, if I were the people voting, I'll be saying, are you able to offer the Advocate for Humanity the offer he has made? Okay?
Right.
I don't want to, I don't need rich. I tell you, I can't eat meat.
Yes.
Yes? Is that okay?
I'm being told
Yes, so-
to
Okay, there you go.
I know, end the program. But then again, I'm not going to do that until when I want to recap. It's been my pleasure, and I also want to present to you a Nigerian who now openly, offer his services to humanity, especially where he's come from, which is Nigeria, that he's willing to do a free for all kind of services where he can make arrangements in kind of a chain wise where people he will educate and these people will educate to correct the kind of mindset that we have in our country, where we believe that stomach structure of just 1 month or 3 months to standing for 48 months. And that's why I come with the suggestion of if they offer you something, just tell them to make it 48 months.
That's right.
48 months than the number of people in your household. Once that money is paid, I don't know, I'm still not saying take it, but at least scare them off.
That's right.
Because you're not going to get anything if you take money and you vote for bad candidate. Because disadvantage of that is if you vote for a bad candidate, 10, 20 more of that money will be siphoned on, and you have to take responsibility for that. It's been my pleasure having you again, and probability it's not going to take another 1 year to have you back again.
I hope not. I look
And
forward.
then we can continue from where we stop.
Thank you.
So viewers, it has been another edition of One-on-One with OtunbaHOO. My guest tonight is Prince Eze Ihenacho, and we've been rubbing mind about everything that is possible. So please share this program on all the media outlets we mentioned before, and I have no doubt in my mind that many people will like it. So thank you very much, Prince.
Thank you very much, Otunba.
Yes.
Thank you.
And
My
good
pleasure.
night.
Good night.
Heritage Television. Promoting African culture and heritage at its best. From talk shows that concern you to both local and international news that relates to you. From grassroots football to African children's programs. Heritage Television. We cover your social and special events like weddings, birthdays, church anniversaries, and so on, and broadcast them live on our apps and online. Heritage Television, broadcasting everything about culture and heritage. Heritage Television. We've got it covered. Do download our apps on both Android, iOS, and Windows mobile platform. Heritage Television, your very own TV station.